This episode of Shaman King covers from chapters 185 to 190, and I have to say this is a much better episode than last week's episode. The chapters that this episode covers are also action-oriented chapters as well, which allows it the leeway to cram in 5 chapters into one episode. Personally, I think 4 chapters in one episode is the perfect amount. 5 is pushing it, but anything beyond that is too much for the tribal chief's liking. This episode had the spotlight on 3 of the main characters. In the beginning, it was Horhoro when he was fighting against Blocken, Lyserg when it turned out it was him who saved Horhoro, and Ryu when he fought against Peyote and the beam guy. And you can also say that the spotlight was also on Choklov right at the end when it was revealed that it was him who killed Red Seb and Serum's parents. But because it's right at the end, you can't really count it, as we will get a bigger focus on Choklov in the next episode, so we'll talk more in depth there when the episode drops. So let me go in chronological order in accordance with the episodes of each of the 3 main characters that had their attention in this episode, starting with Horhoro. Horhoro's fight against Blocken is actually one of the most important individual fights for Horhoro in this story. Horhoro is always considered an underdog throughout the entire series, and he knows it as well. And at that point in the story, his confidence is at rock bottom. He just learned that his Furyoku level is at a level of 2000, whilst he was up against Blocken and the big guy Bill, going into this fight, who had a combined Furyoku level of 200,000. The guy he's fighting in this episode has a Furyoku level of 160,000. So by calculation, Blocken is 80 times stronger than Horhoro, which is insane. But nonetheless, he still jumped in to try and save the Iceman. But the whole theme of this fight for Horhoro is that despite being the underdog on paper, he still has a chance to beat the numbers and prove to himself that it doesn't matter what level of Furyoku you are, you can still beat your opponent by using clever tactics and having the belief that you can win. The Icemen were all dead and buried, but Horhoro managed to use all of his remaining Furyoku to use the Iceman's 3 spirits in individual combo moves to slow down Blocken and even beat one of Blocken's modes, the Diosaurus. In the past few episodes, if you go back to the episode before the Osorzan flashback, when the Team Ren was fighting against Hao's minions, and even in this episode it has been drilled into us that Horhoro has a weak level of Furyoku. That's been the main point of this fight. He is weak, and he's fighting against someone 80 times stronger than him. But the way Blocken lost in this fight with Horhoro, using his supposed weak Furyoku level to control all 3 of the Iceman's spirit allies and beat him in this way, was the best way Horhoro could win. Horhoro doesn't have many 1v1 fights. It's mainly him or either one of Ren or Choklov helping him fight against Hao's minions or even the X-Laws. So we never truly get to see him shine by himself. I mean, we do have a couple episodes here and there, but more often than not, we barely see Horhoro having the time to shine. As said by Callum in this episode, Horhoro showed intelligence and ingenuity to beat someone so much stronger than him. 2 qualities that are not associated with Horhoro. Horhoro is always seen as a comedic relief character, borderline of being a joke of a character. So seeing him win in this way was like him shutting down the critics. The story itself was shitting on him, saying how weak he is. But he turned the tables, and hopefully he has opened up people's eyes on how badass he can truly be once given the spotlight. Marco is such a prick, isn't he? But because he was beating up Lyserg, all because Lyserg is sad that Yo is not in the Shaman tournament, as well as the whole killing people in the name of justice thing, Lyserg is torn between his good nature of not wanting to kill people and his wanting for revenge against Hao, which was the sole reason why he joined the X-Laws. But I think this episode proves why this version of Lyserg will never be an X-Law. And I say this version because I will also be comparing him to the 2001 counterpart in the original anime. Lyserg in the 2001 anime, when he received Zalel, he forgot about morphine. He just let her go, thinking he doesn't need her anymore, which was a major reason to why so many people hated Lyserg, including myself in the original anime. He was just as cruel and ruthless as any of the other X-Laws in the 2001 anime. The only thing he couldn't do was kill, because let's be honest, he didn't have the stomach for it. Okay, I might be a bit harsh, as he did have some goodness within himself to prevent him from going full psycho X-Law mode, but it doesn't change the fact that he became cold-blooded just like the other X-Laws. He was an X-Law through and through, and by the end of the 2001 anime, he had Zalel and all the other Archangels combined with Morphine as the last standing angel. Even though it was the end of the X-Laws, he still carried on the mantle of the X-Laws. However, in the 2021 anime, you can tell he doesn't feel like he's part of the X-Laws. It's like he is using them to kill Hao rather than joining the X-Lords because he believes in the same ideology as them, of that justice should be served on those who break the law. And the biggest evidence of this is the fact that he kept Morphine and says that he won't go anywhere without her, despite the fact that he got Zalel now. In the 2001 anime, you can make the argument that maybe because of the pressure Marco gave to Lyserg, telling him that Morphine is letting him down, was the reason why Lyserg let go of Morphine. But the disconnect between Morphine and Lyserg was happening well before Marco pointed it out. Lyserg letting go of Morphine completed the symbolic transition from Lyserg going from Yo's friend into a cold-blooded X-Law. Morphine being in his life was stopping him becoming a fully dedicated X-Law. That's why he was looking to blame Morphine any chance he got during that period of the arc. Here it's the opposite. The fact that Lyserg is keeping Morphine is also keeping him on track on not losing himself to the bullshit ideology of the X-Laws. There will be future videos comparing the characters from the 2001 and the 2021 anime, so stay tuned for those videos. And finally, Ryu. When reading chapter 188, I loved it when Ryu was getting angry when Peyote and the beam guy were laughing when their comrade was falling from the sky. He can't understand why they are laughing, since it's their own teammate and friend who is the one falling to his death. This keeps his story consistent, following on from his fight with Boris, when even Boris killed one of his own comrades to get stronger. The thing I love about Ryu is that he's such a bro. He's one of those friends that you have no doubt he will be there for you, regardless what the situation or wherever you are. He will be there to make sure you're okay. He is the friend that we all need. When Yo told Manta to get lost after his fight against Faust, it was Ryu who picked Manta back up to go and find Yo, which they did, and they eventually became friends again. In this episode, he actually died helping his friends, helping them to escape. See? He literally sacrificed himself for his friends, and it's only because of the Gandhara group he managed to come back to life. Otherwise he would be dead. And of course, the countless times he had faith in Yo and was fighting by Yo's side without any hesitation, as well as him being truly hurt when Lyserg left the group. This series is very dark. The cliffhanger of this episode revealed that Choklov was the one that killed the two kids' parents, and as a consequence for that action, we see all of his friends brutally murdered. That's just this episode alone. This series is a very dark series, make no mistake about it. So having a character like Ryu is essential. He is the friend that keeps the story light-hearted with his comedic relief and his simple dream of being by Yo's side. Ryu is vital in keeping this story from becoming dark and depressing. That's why his loyalty to his friends is so wholesome to see on screen. We ended up seeing the Gandhara group for the first time. Love the music as well when these monsters got introduced. But we only see them for a bit, so I'm sure I'll be talking about them in detail in future videos, so don't worry about that. Overall, this was a really good episode. The three characters had their time to shine at last. We got a bombshell cliffhanger right at the end of the episode. There was foreshadowing of the Patch Tribe, who may not be as noble as they seem. The Gandhara group finally having their anime debut. And finally, Yo. All I'm saying to those who are anime only, prepare yourselves. Yo is going to have one of the moments of the series in the next few episodes. Comment below your thoughts on the episode, and don't forget to subscribe to the Shaman Tribe.